Rain-slicked streets gleamed under the harsh yellow of a flickering street lamp. A small figure appeared at the corner, shoulders hunched, trembling like a leaf in a storm. Her tiny voice rang out, raw and desperate. "Please, please help me." Rider Stonehand Cole, leading the bikers down the avenue, stopped mid-throttle. Leather boots screeched against wet asphalt as he swung off his Harley. Ahead, the girl turned slowly, lifting her shirt just enough for him to see. Purple and black bruises covered her back in jagged patterns, angry against pale skin. Tears streaked down her dirt-smeared cheeks. A twisted ribbon of pain marked her like a map of suffering. Ryder's brothers, Torch, Mace, Bishop, and Grady, dismounted quickly, engines still roaring, shadows stretching long across the street. Every man's eyes hardened. She said they'll hurt her if anyone sees," the girl whispered, voice shaking. "But you can help, right?" Ryder knelt, voice low, steady, controlled. "Who did this, kid?" Her head shook violently. They live just down that block. They said nobody cares. They said." Her lips quivered. "That nobody will stop them." Ryder's fists clenched. "Brothers, mount up. Engines loud. Streets clear." The girl's eyes widened. What are you going to do?" Ryder's voice was almost a growl. "We're shutting this street down. Nobody moves until we know she's safe." The engines roared like a pack of wolves, echoing off the brick buildings. The little girl clung to the nearest biker's arm, trembling, but a glimmer of hope flickered in her gaze. And in that instant, the entire street became a battleground for justice. No traffic. No pedestrians. Just leather, chrome, and the raw, unstoppable force of men who protect the innocent. The rain fell harder, and the city's worst nightmare was about to meet its reckoning. The bikers spread out along the narrow street, engines idling like growling beasts, their presence enough to silence every dog barking, every cat hissing in the alleyways. The girl clung to Bishop's arm, tiny fingers gripping leather like a lifeline. Ryder scanned the buildings, brick facades slick with rain, dark windows staring like eyes hiding secrets. He knew this neighborhood. He knew the type of men who would leave a child with bruises like that, thinking the world would look away. Torch nudged him gently. "Stonehand, you sure we do this tonight? No backup, no cops willing to intervene. It's them against us." Ryder's eyes didn't leave the corner building where the girl had pointed. "We don't wait. Tonight, they meet us first. If they hurt her again, it ends differently than they think." The little girl whimpered softly, peeking up at him. Will they get in trouble?" Ryder crouched, voice calm but heavy. "Kid, they're going to. You just stay behind us. We'll take care of everything." Mace stepped forward, scanning the alleyways with a predator's focus. Doors locked, windows barred, they've had practice hiding from the world. But they didn't expect us. The girl flinched as the first door opened a crack. A man's shadow appeared, tall, broad, but unaware. The bruises on her back flashed in her mind as she swallowed hard. Ryder's voice was quiet, steady. "Who's first?" Torch grinned faintly. "I'll knock. Gentle, but firm." He approached the door, fist raised. A single rap echoed like a gunshot. Inside, voices whispered, mocking, cruel, unaware of the storm outside. The door slammed open. A man stepped out, trying to appear calm. His eyes narrowed as he took in the bikers, lined up like sentinels in the rain. "You're blocking the street. What's this, some kind of joke?" His voice wavered slightly. Ryder stepped forward, rain dripping from his helmet. "Not a joke. A warning. You touched a child you had no right to touch." The man laughed nervously. "Touch? She's lying. She's just making things up." The girl's sobs cut through the air. "I'm not lying. I'm not lying." Ryder's jaw tightened. "Then let's make sure everyone sees the truth." Bishop pulled out his phone, recording. Torch and Mace flanked him. Every biker formed a protective wall around the girl. No one would get past them tonight. Not the man. Not his friends. A second man appeared behind the first, fists twitching, trying to appear threatening. The rain plastered his hair to his forehead. You think you can come here and... Ryder's voice was low, icy. We don't think. We act. And tonight, the street belongs to her. The man hesitated. Something in Ryder's stance, the growl of engines behind him, the sheer certainty in his brother's eyes, froze him. The little girl stepped forward slightly, showing her bruised back again, trembling but determined. Please. I just want to be safe. And in that instant, the entire street, the corner of cracked asphalt and flickering street lamps, shifted. The bikers weren't just men on motorcycles. They were judgment, protection, and fury incarnate. The rain fell harder, plastering everyone to their skins, but no one moved. Silence hung heavy, broken only by the soft sobs of the girl and the low hum of engines. The men who had inflicted pain on her realized they were outmatched, outnumbered, outclassed. And Ryder knew, this confrontation wasn't just for tonight. It was for every child who had been silenced, every parent too afraid to act. The street had been shut down. And justice had arrived on roaring chrome and leather. The two men on the porch froze as Ryder and his crew slowly advanced, engines purring like controlled beasts behind them. The rain-slicked street reflected flashing neon signs from a nearby diner, casting long shadows over brick walls that had witnessed too much pain. The little girl, still trembling, clung to Bishop's arm. Her small fingers were wet, her knuckles white from gripping his leather jacket. Ryder didn't speak at first. He didn't need to. The weight of his stare pressed down on the men, stronger than any words. Behind him, Torch, Mace, Grady, and Bishop formed a tight semicircle, each man exuding the raw aura of someone who had fought for every inch of life and respect. Finally, Ryder spoke. She told us everything. Every bruise, every lie, every night she was locked in that room alone. If you think this ends quietly, you're wrong. The men shifted uneasily. One attempted to laugh, but it cracked, brittle against the sound of approaching engines. Their power felt hollow now, thin as the rain dripping from the eaves. The girl stepped forward, showing her back again, her small voice quivering but strong. I'm telling the truth. You hurt me. Ryder knelt to meet her eye level. We believe you. You're safe now. The tallest man spat on the wet asphalt. You think a couple of motorcycles and loud mouths are going to scare us? Ryder stood, wet hair plastered to his forehead, rain dripping from his leather jacket. It's not about scaring you. It's about making sure everyone knows what you are. And what you've done. Torch pulled out his phone, recording everything. Mace circled the men, boots cracking in puddles. The air was electric, heavy with tension and inevitability. Shut it down, Ryder whispered to his brothers. And like a switch flipped, the small neighborhood transformed. Cars stopped, drivers peeked from windows. Pedestrians froze. Every street leading into the block was blocked by roaring Harleys, engines shaking the very foundations of the old brick buildings. The neighborhood had become a fortress. The men on the porch backed up, realizing the scale of what they were facing. They had isolated themselves, and now the eyes of the town were on them. Ryder's voice cut through the rain. You'll answer for every scar, every tear, every moment of fear you put into her. And we'll make sure everyone sees the truth. The smaller man swallowed, eyes darting from the girl to the bikers surrounding him. It's not what you think. It's exactly what we think, Ryder said, voice low and hard. And tonight, that ends. The little girl's sobs became quieter, replaced with the first glimmer of courage she had ever known. She watched the bikers surrounding her, understanding for the first time that she was no longer alone, and that the men who had hurt her were completely outmatched. And in that heavy silence, with rain slashing through the street and engines growling, the truth settled like smoke. The street was theirs now. No one would move. No one would touch her. Justice wasn't coming. It had already arrived. The men on the porch were shaking now. Their bravado had evaporated under the storm of leather, chrome, and righteous fury surrounding them. Every footstep Ryder took, every glance from Torch or Mace, tightened the invisible noose. The little girl's sobs had softened, her small chest rising and falling in shaky, cautious relief. Ryder stepped closer, rain plastering his hair to his forehead. You had a choice. You could have stopped. You could have helped her, protected her. But instead, you hid behind lies and cruelty. The tallest man spat, water dripping from his chin. She's lying. You've all been brainwashed by her words. Ryder's eyes narrowed. No. She's telling the truth. And everyone watching knows it now. At that moment, a driver honked from a car trapped behind the blockade. Another pedestrian peeked from a nearby diner, noticing the Harleys lining the street, the bikers standing shoulder to shoulder like guardians. The little girl's neighborhood was witnessing a reckoning they hadn't expected. Torch stepped forward, voice low and deadly. We're giving you one chance. Leave. Never come near her again. Or we'll make sure the whole block remembers your name. The men exchanged panicked glances. They realized this wasn't just one man. This was an entire crew. Brothers. A brotherhood that would protect the innocent with everything they had. Bishop tilted his head, phone raised, recording every word, every trembling motion of the men. The proof was undeniable. There could be no denials now. The smaller man stammered, voice cracking. We'll leave. We'll go. Ryder didn't relax. Get moving. And don't ever come back. They fled, slipping past the Harleys and down side streets, disappearing into the rain-soaked city like shadows. The street remained silent for a long moment, the little girl staring after them, trying to comprehend the enormity of what had just happened. Torch crouched beside her. You see that? Nobody touches you. Not ever again. She nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks, but this time they were tears of relief, not fear. Her lips quivered. Thank you, all of you. Ryder placed a hand gently on her shoulder. It's not about thanks, kid. It's about knowing you're safe. That you matter. That you have a family now, if you want one. From the edges of the street, neighbors peeked, slowly emerging from behind curtains and doorways, whispers spreading through the block. They had witnessed courage, strength, and justice unfold before them. The rain slowed, puddles reflecting the glint of chrome, the stoic faces of bikers, and the smallest figure standing bravely in the center. The city had learned something that night. Protect the innocent, and even the most broken streets can shine. Even as the men ran from the street, Ryder knew they wouldn't stop. Bullies like that didn't vanish easily. They lingered, gathering strength, whispering threats, waiting for the moment to strike back. Kid, Ryder said, crouching to the girl's height. We're moving. Stay close. Don't let go. She nodded, gripping his leather vest tightly. Her small arms wrapped around him as Torch, Mace, and Bishop formed the rear guard, scanning every alley, every doorway, for signs of pursuit. The night was still wet, fog curling off the pavement like smoke from a fire, masking their movements. Ryder led them through a labyrinth of back streets, old warehouses, and abandoned storefronts. Every step was careful, calculated. The roar of engines had to be silent now. Discretion was their shield. The girl's steps faltered. I can't run fast, she whispered. You don't have to, Ryder said. We'll carry you if we have to. Just trust us. Mace spotted movement ahead, shadows slipping along walls, trying to flank them. They're coming back, he muttered, teeth clenched. Ryder's jaw tightened. Good. Let them try. Torch revved his bike lightly, warning the shadows. The men pursuing realized quickly that the street bullies were nothing compared to this crew. One misstep in the alleyways, and the bikers would be upon them like a storm. The girl stumbled slightly, but Ryder caught her effortlessly. Her small body shivering against his chest, she looked up. Are we really safe? Ryder glanced down at her, eyes soft but determined. We'll make sure. I promise you, tonight, nobody will hurt you again. They ducked into a narrow corridor between two warehouses. The alley twisted, rain pooling in potholes, slippery metal doors lining the walls. Bishop and Grady secured the rear, eyes darting like hawks, ready to intercept anyone foolish enough to follow. Ahead, a fire escape offered a climb. Ryder lifted the girl onto the first rung, supporting her with his hands. She looked down at him, frightened but trusting. "You can do it," he said. Step by step. With torch and mace on either side, they guided her up, away from the block where she had suffered, where fear had ruled. Every step was a victory, every careful breath a defiance of the men who had tried to break her spirit. At the top, a flat rooftop opened into a wider network of alleys leading out of the neighborhood. Ryder set the girl down gently. Her legs wobbled, but she stood tall for the first time in weeks, shoulders squared, eyes bright with fear and hope mingled together. "They'll never find me up here," she said. "They won't," Ryder replied. "Not as long as we're around." The crew regrouped, engines starting quietly again. They mounted their bikes, forming a protective semicircle around the girl. As the convoy rolled into the dark, rain-drenched streets, the girl whispered to Ryder, Do I really have a family now?" Ryder didn't answer immediately. He just revved the engine, a promise in every sound. And the girl understood. She belonged to them now. And somewhere deep in the alleyways, the men who had hurt her realized they had underestimated the wrong family. The convoy of Harleys thundered through the outskirts of town, rain still dripping from every chrome surface, engines echoing like a war drum through the abandoned warehouses and cracked asphalt. The little girl clung to Ryder, shivering, but not from cold. This was adrenaline, fear, and the first spark of hope mingling together. Torch rode ahead, scanning for any sign of the stepfather or his friends. "He won't let this go. He'll try something desperate," he muttered, voice tight. Ryder's jaw clenched. "Good. Let him." Tonight, desperation meets the wrong family. Mace caught a glint of headlights far behind them. "They are following. SUV. 2 of them. Fast. Not giving up." The girl's eyes widened. He's coming." Ryder held her closer. "He's already here, but you're safe. You're with us now. Nobody hurts you." The bikers rode hard, cutting through narrow back roads, past abandoned barns and crumbling fences. Every turn was deliberate, every shadow watched. The stepfather's men were fast, but the crew knew every shortcut, every hidden path through the outskirts. Suddenly, the lead SUV skidded around a bend, tires throwing mud into the air. The driver shouted, "Stop them!" Ryder's lips pressed together. "Brothers. Formation. No mistakes. Protect the kid at all costs." The bikers adjusted, creating a moving wall around the girl. Engines roared, tires kicked up debris, and the chase became a symphony of metal and fury. The SUV tried to flank them through a side alley, but Torch and Bishop anticipated the move, blocking the path with their bikes. The stepfather jumped out, rain plastering his hair to his forehead, face twisted in rage. "Give her back. Now." Ryder's eyes narrowed. "You gave her scars. You gave her pain. You gave her fear. Now, you get nothing." The bikers slowly closed in, a controlled storm of strength, leather, and loyalty. No fists were thrown yet. This was intimidation wrapped in morality. The little girl whispered to Ryder, voice trembling, Will he stop?" Ryder looked down at her, voice low but firm. "Not until he knows he's beaten. But tonight, he loses everything that mattered to him. And you gain everything you deserve." The stepfather lunged, trying to reach the girl, but Mace intercepted him, effortlessly pushing him back into the mud. Torch held a hand on his shoulder, controlling the furious man without unnecessary force. Ryder advanced, standing tall, soaked to the bone, every muscle coiled and ready. "It's over. Not just for tonight, but for every day he thought he could hurt you." The man glared, breath ragged, slipping in the mud. He realized he was outmatched, not by weapons, but by loyalty, protection, and moral strength. He was alone, while the girl had an entire army of men who would never let him near her again. With a final, trembling shout, the stepfather stumbled back. Torch held him firmly while Ryder leaned down, eyes locked on his terrified face. This street belongs to her now. Every bruise, every tear, you won't touch her again. The men knew it wasn't just a threat. The girl's safety was guaranteed, because these bikers weren't just enforcers, they were family, brotherhood, and justice incarnate. The stepfather slunk away into the night, defeated and humiliated. The girl's shoulders relaxed for the first time in weeks. Ryder straightened, placing a protective hand on her back. Let's go home. You're ours now. The street was still blocked. Bikes lined both sides like steel guardians. Engines silent. Helmets off. Every biker standing shoulder to shoulder outside that worn-down building where Lily's suffering had lived for years. Inside, officers dragged Mr. Carson out, wrists cuffed, face pale, ego shattered. He wasn't injured, but he wasn't untouched either. The world had finally seen what he'd hidden. Lily clung to Rose's hand, her tiny fingers squeezing like she was afraid this moment might disappear. When Mr. Carson was shoved into the back of the police car, he locked eyes with the bikers, confusion, fear, disbelief. Like the world had tilted against him for the first time. Ryder stepped forward, voice low but clear. Hurting a child ends today. Not just yours. Any child. People from the street had gathered. Neighbors who once stayed silent now whispered apologies, guilt tugging at their throats. Lily didn't care. She walked up to Ryder, took a shaky breath, and whispered the words she'd been too scared to say. Thank you for coming. Ryder knelt to her eye level. We didn't come, he said softly. You called. We just answered. The bikers cheered quietly, no roaring engines, no dramatic revving, just human relief. The police car drove away. For the first time, the street was quiet. Too quiet. Then Lily tugged Rose's vest. What happens now? She asked. Rose looked at her gently. Now, she smiled. Now you heal. And if you ever need us, even for a bad dream, you call. She tapped the metal hearts patch on her jacket. We don't disappear. Lily nodded. A small nod. A brave nod. The kind a child gives when she finally believes she isn't alone anymore. And as she walked back to the safety of the bikers' clubhouse with a woman who promised to foster her, the entire neighborhood watched. Some with guilt. Some with respect. Some with relief. But all with one realization. Sometimes it doesn't take a police car or a courtroom to shut down a street. It takes the truth of a child. And a family of warriors willing to stand for her.